It's 2 in the morning. The house is completely quiet. You're deep asleep, finally getting some rest after a long day. And then, out of nowhere, you hear it. A thundering gallop down the hallway. Something skidding across the kitchen floor. A loud thud, then silence. And then it starts again. You look up from your pillow, confused and half awake, and there she is. Your cat, sprinting at full speed from one end of the house to the other, eyes wide, tail puffed up, looking like she's being chased by something only she can see. And the question you've probably asked yourself 100 times is, why? Why does this happen at night? Why does it seem so frantic, so urgent? And why, the moment you turn on the light to check on her, does she just stop and stare at you like nothing happened? Most cat owners laugh it off. They call it the zoomies and go back to sleep. But here's the thing. What's happening in those wild, chaotic moments is far more fascinating than most people ever realize. And by the end of this video, you're going to look at your cat's midnight madness in a completely different way. Because something much deeper is going on. Something ancient, something emotional, and honestly, something that tells you more about your cat's inner world than almost anything else she does. So let's talk about it. To understand why your cat loses her mind at 2 in the morning, you first have to understand what kind of animal a cat actually is. And I mean really is. Not the soft, sleepy creature curled up on your couch, but the creature she was built to be before she ever set paw inside a human home. Cats are crepuscular predators. That's a fancy way of saying that in the wild, their peak hunting hours fall at dawn and at dusk, those low-light windows when their eyes give them a massive advantage over their prey. Rodents, birds, insects, they're all most active in those in-between hours of darkness and light. And over thousands of years of evolution, the cat's entire biology calibrated itself to match that rhythm. Their pupils can dilate to almost the full size of their eye, pulling in every last photon of available light. Their ears can rotate independently, tracking the smallest rustle from across a room. Their bodies are built like springs, wound tight, ready to explode into movement at a moment's notice. Every single part of your cat was designed by nature to be a perfect predator in the dark. And here's the thing most people never stop to consider. That's still in there. All of it. Even in your sweet, well-fed house cat, who has never once had to hunt for her food. The instinct doesn't disappear just because the need for it does. It just waits. So picture what your cat's day actually looks like. She sleeps through the morning. She sleeps through the afternoon. She wakes up to eat food that appears in a bowl like magic. No chase, no effort, no hunt. And then the sun goes down, and something stirs inside her that has been quietly building all day long. Behaviorists who study cats call this accumulated energy, a kind of predatory tension that gets stored up every time the hunting instinct is triggered, but never fully released. Every bird she watched through the window, every shadow that moved across the wall, every little sound that made her ears twitch, all of that stimulation without the physical outlet of an actual hunt. And when night falls and the house gets quiet, and the light drops to exactly the level her eyes were made for, her body says, now. That's what the zoomies really are. They aren't random. They aren't silly. They are your cat doing, alone in the dark, exactly what her body was built to do. She's hunting. She's chasing imaginary prey through your hallway. She's practicing the sprint, the pounce, the pivot. And she's burning off the pressure that's been building inside her for hours. What most owners don't realize is that this isn't a behavioral problem. It's not anxiety. It's not boredom in a negative sense. It's actually a sign of a healthy, physically capable, instinct-rich animal doing exactly what comes naturally. In the wild, that energy would have been used up by now. In your home, it comes out at midnight in the form of a tiny galloping earthquake. But there's another layer to this that I find even more fascinating. And this is where it gets interesting. Cats are not just motivated by physical energy when this happens. There's something emotional going on too. Something that cat behavior researchers have only recently started paying closer attention to. When cats enter this heightened, zoomy state, their brains are flooded with the same neurological cocktail that surges through any predator mid-hunt. Adrenaline, dopamine, a rush of sensory sharpness that makes everything feel urgent and alive. It feels good to them, deeply, biologically satisfying in a way that no amount of napping on the couch can replicate. Think about how it feels to finally stretch after sitting still for too long, or to sprint after spending a day at a desk. There's a release in it. A physical relief that goes all the way to the bone. For your cat, the midnight zoomies are that release, multiplied by 1,000 years of evolution, telling her that this is what living feels like. And here's something worth sitting with. If your cat has a particularly intense zoomie session, it often means she's been feeling understimulated during the day. Not sad, not suffering, but quietly, hungry for something her environment hasn't given her. That burst of frantic energy at 2 a.m. is, in a strange way, your cat telling you something about what she needs. Now, there's one more piece of this puzzle that I promised I'd get to, and it's the one that changes how most people feel about the whole thing. Have you ever noticed that sometimes, right after the zoomies, after all that wild sprinting and skidding and leaping, your cat comes and finds you? She jumps onto the bed. She settles beside you. Sometimes she'll even knead your blanket, slow and rhythmic, purring quietly like nothing happened. Like the storm inside her has passed, and what she wants now, what she needs now, is to be close to you. That's not a coincidence. Cats in the wild don't hunt alone because they have to. They hunt because they must. But the return, the settling, the grooming, the curling up somewhere safe, that's the emotional counterweight. After the adrenaline, there is rest. After the wildness, there is comfort. And you are her comfort. When your cat finds you after the zoomies and presses her warm little body against yours, she's completing a cycle that is as old as she is. The hunt is over. She is safe. And the creature she trusts most in the world is right there. Something deeper is happening here than most people ever realize. That moment of quiet closeness after all that chaos? That's your cat choosing you. Not out of habit, not out of dependency, out of something that, in the world of a small wild animal, looks a whole lot like love. So what can you do with all of this? The single best thing you can give a cat who gets frequent midnight zoomies is an interactive play session in the early evening. Something that mimics the hunt. A wand toy. A laser. Something that moves unpredictably and lets her stalk, chase, and pounce to her heart's content. Give her the hunt before the house goes dark, and you'll often find the midnight episodes get quieter. Not because you've suppressed her instincts, but because you've honored them. You can also think about enriching her environment during the day. A window perch where she can watch birds. Puzzle feeders that make her work for her food. A tall cat tree where she can climb, survey, and feel like the hunter she is. These small things speak directly to the part of her brain that was built for a more demanding life than an indoor apartment can offer, and they matter more than most people think. The goal isn't to turn your cat into a quieter, more convenient version of herself. The goal is to understand her, to meet her where she is, to look at the wild-eyed creature sprinting through your dark hallway and think, I see you, I know what this is, and I've got you. Because that's the part that always stays with me when I think about cats and their midnight wildness. These animals carry an entire ancient world inside them. Every instinct, every reflex, every flash of nocturnal madness is a remnant of something real and necessary and beautiful. They chose to live with us anyway. Despite the fact that our schedules don't match theirs. Despite the fact that our homes weren't built for climbing and stalking and sprinting. Despite the fact that we sleep through the exact hours when their whole being comes alive, they still come back. They still find us in the dark and settle beside us and purr. If that isn't one of the most remarkable things in the world, I genuinely don't know what is. So the next time you're jolted awake at 2 a.m. by the sound of tiny paws thundering down the hallway, before you groan and pull the pillow over your head, take just a moment to appreciate what you're witnessing. A small, perfect predator, living her truest, most alive self, in your home, by your side. And when the storm passes and she finds her way back to you and curls up warm against your feet, know that the quiet that follows isn't just sleep. It's trust.